I guess this might be what? The final episode of the season for JR Takes? Because
I
next
guess
week is going
so.
to be, well, March 8th is happening in 5 days. And that'll pass by the time next week rolls around. So I guess this is the season finale. This is a very House of Dragon-esque season finale, as
It's all
nothing is
just
really,
set up.
yeah, it's all just set up for next season. Um,
Yeah, it's been a good season though. I mean, the channel grew a lot, got a lot of new subscribers, so thank you for listening if you joined on in the last year season.
yeah,
Um,
it's been a lot of fun, and we hope to only grow even further. But
Indeed. We had our first big ticket item of the 2025 off season underway, well, completed actually in the NFL Combine. And gotta say, first impression was kind of annoyed that a bunch of players were not participating in any of the drills. But of the guys who did participate, this looks like another, really impressive draft class, at least at the high end. So, um, I would say just overall thoughts on it. Biggest takeaway to me was this is a really good draft if you need offensive linemen. And we are a team that needs many offensive linemen, maybe five. So I'm super excited about that. Apparently the Seahawks met with a ton of the top offensive lineman prospects, so
mhm.
things are looking good on that front. I guess just to get this whole thing rolling, first and foremost, the guy I was really hoping we could maybe get at 18 in how do you say his first name? Armand Membu out of Missouri. He's a tackle prospect, but he can play guard. He's got the build to do it and the athleticism. He's got all the athleticism in the world because he ran a four. Let me make sure I get this
Was he the guy
number.
that was yelling during his 40?
Yeah, and he like tripped while he was running it, but he ran a 4.9140 at 330 pounds. So this guy's faster than Jake Bobo and weighs 330. That's fucking insane. So I don't know. I kind of think after that time, him being there at 18 is becoming a little bit of a pipe dream because he literally had the second fastest time of any lineman, period. And he's one of the heavier guys out there. And he just destroyed at the Senior Bowl. So it'd be a miracle if he fell to us at 18, but if he did, like you'd feel good about him playing basically any spot on the line, and he could immediately be our day one starter at left guard, I think. Worst case scenario. So that'd be a dream. It's probably a crack pipe dream now, but super impressed by him. Yet another guy. NFL.com doesn't like him so much for whatever reason. PFF likes him a lot better. And Jared Wilson, center out of Georgia, ran a 4.84. That's crazy fast for an interior lineman. Up and down the list, you have Tate Ratledge, another good guard prospect, running sub five. Lots of guys getting in the low fives as well. So just kind of, you go down the list and there's like 20 guys that you would say probably have the athleticism to at least, project to playing in this kind of offense that Clinton Kubiak is going to try to run. Because
Hmm.
they specifically, I mean, he even said one of his press conferences, since it's a wide zone scheme in the running game, the athleticism is a little more important than like the pure brute strength. So you could have some undersized guards as long as they can move, basically. So I think
Right.
this bodes really well for that. And I'd be shocked if they don't come out of the top two rounds with an interior O line guy. I'll be like speechless.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm going to retain anything from the combine as far as offensive linemen are concerned. Especially like, okay, for example, like this guy that you were just talking about that ran the really fast 40 time. Like, obviously, he's a freak athlete if he can do that at 325. But maybe this is just another one of those moments where Ryan, you fall in love with the guy in the combine and he turns out to not be anything. And
Well, to that point, I'm using this more as like solidifying the thoughts I already had about these guys, having done a little research, because I've had my eye on Membu from Missouri for like months at this
you
point.
have, I remember you bringing him up, especially the ability to play multiple positions.
Yeah, because with Abe Lucas, it's like you kind of want to get someone that can play tackle and inside, because you just never know with Abe what you're gonna get
Right.
and how many games you're gonna get. So that was honestly the main reason why I was so interested in him. But since he ran so fast, it's like fuck. Now it might not even matter.
Well, yeah. And remember how we were talking, I think even you said this like a month ago, how you were like, I'm not gonna buy into the combine anymore because it's almost just like a like propaganda for football
hmm
just to make the draft more exciting.
Well, it's also like, the big ones like the 40-yard dash, probably the most like heavily propped up drill that they do there. It can kind of be a big amount of fool's goals. Like you look and go back to the top performers in the 40 ever. You have Chris Johnson, who had the record for a long time in the 40. And then if you look at the players around him, granted, Tariq Woolen is up there too. You got Henry Ruggs, Dree Archer, uh, Kalen Barnes, John Ross, a bunch of guys that got drafted super high because they were that fast. And then just, well, granted, DJ Turner's still, who's to say what his career is going to be. But long story short, um, you're keeping the company of guys like Tyquan Thornton. Okay, so great, they're really fast, but do they play football well? And that's kind of the point I was trying to make is if the ladder isn't shown at the college level, I don't care if you're a track athlete, like you can't play football. So I'm just looking at it more so this year is like, okay, this guy was really good. What kind of athlete is he? Because if someone looked really good in college but they test terrible, it's kind of more like you don't feel great about taking them super high in that case because at a certain point, like you just have to have X traits to be able to do it at the next level. You just kind of do. Or you have to be extraordinarily special at what you're good at. Like I mean, not that Jake Bobo, for example, is extraordinarily special, but I mean the guy runs a 5 flat 40 and produces at the NFL level receiver. Granted, at wide receiver for production, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
he's got some weird traits that make it possible for him to even make a roster. But by and large, if you're running a 40 at like 4.9 as a receiver, like you will not even get drafted or make a roster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you kind of got to thread the needle a little bit, but it is just fun to see like what's out there because yeah, for running backs, most of the time, if they run a 5 or a 4 or 5 or under, like that's an NFL level athleticism. If you come out and run a 4.8, you might not get drafted, you know?
Yeah, totally. I did see or I did hear I haven't heard too much about Will Campbell other than he's obviously a high-end offensive tackle prospect, but I heard him say something my because apparently he has short arms for
Mm.
uh like for an offensive lineman, and he said something like my arms have never my short arms have never allowed a sack or something like that. But but it's just funny because I mean playing tackle it's obviously like better to have long arms, but um I don't know. I heard that comment and just kind of thought it was funny.
Yeah, I mean, PFF has him as the number one offensive lineman in this class, so they certainly don't think that that's a problem. Sixth overall prospect in their eyes. I kind of feel, I mean, the guy's 6'6". How short can his arms really be? You know,
Right.
I don't know. I feel like if you're a GM and you obsess over the measurables, like it is the number one thing to you, well, you should work for the Raiders or the Jaguars or something, because like, and I feel like the Jaguars are a great example of that, where they took, um, God, I can't even remember his name, the guy over Aiden Hutchinson, a few years back. Can you remember his name? He's had an okay
It's like,
career.
isn't his name like D? I don't know. I don't know what his name is. Yeah,
I'm
starts
gonna
with a
just look it
D.
up real quick. It was Trayvon Walker. Trayvon
Oh,
Walker.
Trayvon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's developing into a solid NFL number one rusher. But Aiden Hutchinson is like one of the best in the league already, has been since his rookie year. And I feel like that was a decision they made purely because Trayvon Walker tested like a freak show at the combine. So it's a lesson you got to learn year in and year out, I think.
Yeah.
But I guess with all those caveats aside, I don't know. I feel like this class has a lot to like in it for sure. I'm like the quarterback class definitely kind of a down year, and I was a little disappointed that they just a lot of them didn't do anything besides throw. And even then, I don't even think Cam Ward or Shador Sanders threw at this event, unless I'm mistaken. Um, I, I feel like Cam or not Cam Ward, but Shador in particular is kind of making a mistake because I feel like the media has propped him up as QB2, but I don't know. A lot of people, not necessarily myself, but some people are putting a guy like Jackson Dart over Shador. So that could cost him money not competing at this event.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really like like you were just saying, I don't know if they threw or not. I didn't watch a lick of the combine. Like I it was on at work, like I said, but obviously I was sick this weekend, so I didn't
Mm.
really watch it at all. Um, but I don't know. I just have always felt like Shador Sanders has been propped up like from his name. Not
Yeah.
really, because I mean he didn't really win anything in college. Granted, they had a good year this past season, and I think they lost their first game to like Nebraska. They got like blown out, and then they like went on a pretty good win streak there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still on the Cam Ward to Cleveland. That's still my opinion there. And then Shador Sanders, he could drop. I don't know. It just kind of depends on what the Giants feel about him. But going back real quick, Ryan, to when we were talking about the Raiders, uh, I just heard the name Tyree Wilson today on a
Oh,
podcast I was listening to earlier. And it's just so funny because you and me both, when that draft was happening, like I remember all the mocks we were doing, we were like, God, let's just put this guy on the fucking Raiders because
yeah.
I feel like we both thought he was gonna suck. And
Yeah,
in
I
the
remember
podcast,
thinking that from the get-go.
yeah, yeah, and in the podcast I was listening to, the guy brought up Tyree Wilson, and he's like, "Yeah, where's he been? He's turning into a bust every like week of the season goes by." And I was just like, "Damn, it's getting to that point now. We've been doing this podcast long enough to where guys have essentially played out their careers on in the early point of like whether or not they're but like Tyree Wilson came into the league and now he's being viewed as a bust. And we've been doing this podcast. I just remember we were talking about that. It's gonna be crazy when these guys coming into the league that we analyze, I guess, like fast forward a couple years and we can tell what they are
Yeah,
as far
or they're
as
just flat out of the league. Like, I mean,
yeah.
an NFL career is like 3 years a lot of times. So yeah, it's fun to, well, I don't know if fun's the right word, but it's just interesting to see some of these things come full circle. There's a couple guys that, and I believe we interviewed with some of these players as well, but I just wanted to highlight some players that already thought were good, but had good combines that I kind of got
Hmm.
my eye on. I know safety isn't really something you would consider a need for this team necessarily, but there's this guy, Nick Emmanwori from South Carolina. He's 6'3", 227. Put up really good performance at the combine. I forget what the 40 was. Yeah, 4.38. So like basically this guy is DK Metcalf athletically, but on defense as a safety.
Hmm.
That's a fun player. I think you'd have to take him probably at 18, which I don't I just that's a little rich for me to get a safety when we don't necessarily need one. I mean, we were
That
fine
would
with
be
Kobe
such a
Bryant.
John fucking Schneider move, though.
I know, and I
He's
feel like we already
obsessed with the safety
we
position.
went down that road with Jamal Adams and like Quandre Diggs paying them top dollar and trading picks and all that for years. And I feel like we're just now getting on the other end of it. So I'm not advocating for that strategy. But if we were to like trade back into the 20s, get a guard, then get him at the top of the second or something, that would be sweet. Because you do need difference makers to actually chase a championship, even if you're already set at that position. He's a guy I liked a lot.
Are you looking at Pro
Obviously,
Football Focus right now?
I have like 7 tabs open right now. I
I just want
have,
to I want a tab that has like the players in the draft like their rankings from 1 to like
mm,
100.
yeah, just look up PFF Big Board. It's what I use all the time, and then you can sort by
Okay.
position, which is nice. We did, I guess, meet with Jackson Dart as well, and I mean, he looked pretty
Those
good. The thing is, though, I feel like Jackson Dart, with the kind of arm he has, his ceiling to me is like Brock Purdy, which I mean that'd be great to get someone that could execute that well, but I mean we watched Russell Wilson for a decade. We've watched Geno Smith now for 4 seasons basically. So we're really used to seeing a quarterback that can decisively make throws 65 yards down the field. You will not get that out of Jackson Dart. You will have to limit what you can do offensively. So I guess I mean, again, I hate to be, like stupid brain, me want big arm evaluator when it comes to quarterback, like I was with Anthony Richardson. But it's just, I mean, look at like the top quarterbacks in the league; they can all fucking sling that thing. So you can get a guy that can execute an offense well and move the ball. But if you don't have that big play, deep threat factor, it just limits what you can do. And I think when you're looking at quarterbacks, that should at least be a heavy consideration. But we did interview with him, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I've heard some people say Jackson Dart could be a first rounder. I think that's kind of crazy myself, but you never know. I mean, there's all sorts of years where a guy like Kenny Pickett goes in the first round. You're like, huh? So,
I don't see Jackson Dart going in the first round because like what team needs a quarterback that isn't drafting in the top 10?
yeah, and taking him top 10 would be insane. I don't know. I mean, there's the thing about the NFL right now, since we kind of have a generation of guys in like the Dak Prescott era sort of aging out. You could even see a team like the Cowboys pulling the trigger. It would be bizarre, but
That wouldn't make
what?
any sense to me at all because they just paid Dak.
Yeah, but I mean, like think of last year, the Falcons signed Kirk Cousins for a mega deal, then drafted Penix number 8 overall. So I feel like
Yeah, but I don't think. Sorry, continue.
I was just gonna say like basically you never know. Do I think that's gonna happen? No, but I mean, kind of after the whole Penix saga, when it comes to the quarterback position, like I feel like all bets are off. If a team likes a guy, they'll take him wherever they can.
Yeah, I just kind of feel like the Penix thing is an anomaly because that was such a stupid decision, and we haven't seen a team do that. I just don't think another team will look at what Atlanta did and be like, "Hey, they did it. Let's do it too." Like, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we watch teams draft guys like EJ Manuel in the first round, so I don't know. I
To
think
be
I think
fair, I was way too young to even know that that was a bad move.
dude, you couldn't just tell by his name. That was
I
enough
mean,
for
I
me.
did. Yeah, I mean, I guess that was still when the Bills like fucking sucked too. So it was
Yeah,
obvious, but
that was a dark time for them. Um, there was a receiver, Dante Thornton Jr., big guy, 6'5", 205. He ran a really quick 40 at 4.3.
mhm.
And he was projected to go like, I don't know, fourth or fifth round. So that'll probably boost his stock. But just kind of a name to watch because I think we're not going to draft a receiver in the first round, almost certainly. But I'm fairly convinced at this point that Tyler Lockett is not going to be on the team this next year. So there's going to be a void there. And the reason why I say that is I've seen all sorts of reports from guys like Corbin Smith, insiders that are close to the team, that um, they're not really talking to Tyler's agent about an extension or just anything to do with the contract. So
Hmm.
I kind of wanted to spend a little bit of time on this podcast just giving a shout out to Tyler Lockett because he's been, an all-time Seahawk, one of the best players we've had, played a whole decade for us, and just in addition to being an awesome player, starting off as our punt kick returns, turning into one of the better receivers in the league, he's just been a great human being, great locker room guy, just, one of the best Seahawks that we've got to watch for 10 years. So thanks, Tyler, for everything. Maybe all this is bullshit and they extend him tomorrow or something, but it kind of feels like it's the end, I guess, based on everything I'm seeing. So it's going to be a sad day, but, we must venture forward and start thinking about what we're going to do at that wide receiver position. Obviously, DK and JSN are here for probably the long haul. I heard some rumors about a DK trade, but then I heard a bunch of reports that was all bullshit. So I don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah, I if they move DK, then it's really becomes a situation where like, what are we gonna do at the receiver position? But I don't know. I think the new league year starts in about a week, and that's when some big dominoes might start to fall here.
Yeah. For me, for Tyler Lockett, I mean, I don't think he's going to be on the team next year. Love Tyler Lockett, but I mean, it's the NFL's a what have you done for me lately league, and he pretty much was non-existent last season compared to relative to what he's done for us in the
Hmm.
past. So I mean, like I said, love Tyler Lockett, love everything he's done for us, but like I kind of knew it was gonna happen, and I kind of already made my peace with it, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't even going back a year ago. I didn't know if we'd still have him for all these same reasons, just because of the age. Really, I mean, he's not a big guy. He's never been a big guy, but because he was so good, he was able to play outside receiver. But when you start to lose your speed and athleticism to a noticeable degree, it's so much harder to win on the outside when you're, 175, 180 pounds and
Hmm.
like 5'10", whatever he is. So I mean, age is undefeated, unfortunately. So it had, if it wasn't this year, it would be next year. But I think if he goes to another team as just like a slot type of guy, I think he could still play in the league a couple more years. It's just like since we have JSN, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to have two slot guys. I don't know. I
It
from
doesn't seem
a
like he even wants to play. Isn't he going into real estate and has been for a couple of years now?
Yeah, it's tough to say. I heard a report that he does still want to play, but I feel like combine time is where you just see the most lies get put out to the media to like confuse and manipulate. They're all trying to play like chess against each other, them being like GMs and coaches and whatnot. So yeah. Other news, Matt Stafford staying with the Rams. I I was kind of
That's not
excited.
news. We all
Well,
knew that was gonna fucking happen.
I was kind of excited at the thought of him leaving because I don't even know if the Seahawks have beaten Matt Stafford since he's been on the Rams. If anything, it's been like one time. We've just had a hard time beating him, even though I don't think he's necessarily played a great game against us. It's just he when he's on, he makes that team really annoying to stop. So that we'll have to deal with that for at least another year. But I don't think with the injuries he's had, I don't think we're looking at like a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers playing into the 40s situation. So we'll see. The Rams just keep trying to like stretch this run they've been on out without fully rebuilding. And I mean, they're making it work. They just got Jared Verse. They, got Puka in like the fifth round or whatever. So they keep finding a way and it keeps sucking. Rams aren't going away anytime soon. But a guy who is going away is Debo. going to the Commanders for a fifth round pick.
Yeah, but the Commanders, aren't they taking on a lot of the salary?
Yeah, and it's also like I don't know. Did you watch Debo last year?
Did you
He's
see
on
him?
washed. He's on washed watch and
He looks
eighth
like he
month
needs to lose
pregnancy.
weight.
Yeah, he looks like he's midway through a pregnancy right now. So that I don't know. Maybe it helps him, but not likely. Didn't help him catch that pass against the Rams that would have helped us maybe make the playoffs last year. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean, like all that aside, I am glad Debo's gone. If for nothing else, he's been a real thorn in our side the last 4 or 5 years here.
Yeah, I fucking hate watching him like lead the Niners through the tunnel and like he's just so fucking annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, end of an era for sure. That probably me. I feel like the 49ers, because I've heard rumors that they're looking at moving Ayuk as well, which is crazy because they just re extended him last year.
Hmm.
Um, I think they're loading up to give Brock Purdy a big payday, and I hope they do. I hope they pay him $57 million a year.
I think they're gonna too, which
It,
makes
it's
no
it's
sense.
looking like it. The
It's just
cap did
crazy
go up
because,
quite a bit, but yeah,
well,
go ahead.
them paying Brandon Ayuk made no sense. Like, given what I think they want to do big picture.
Hmm.
Because you're paying a guy, I don't even remember what the exact number was, but he only caught 75 balls last year, or when they paid him based on his best season. And his
Hmm.
best season, he caught 75 passes. Like, that's not like Jamar Chase, Amon Ra, even Puka level numbers.
Yeah, I
So,
mean he had a great season on like a per throw like per volume basis. Like his passer rating when targeted was I think near the tops in the league that year. So when they threw the ball to Ayuk that season, great things happened the whole year. But to your point, um, doesn't have the volume numbers like those guys, and that offense functions to where it purposefully doesn't have high volume passing attempts because
mhm.
it's a run first offense in San Francisco. It's the wide zone, McCaffrey. I mean, really any running back Shanahan puts back there. Like it's a very like run first hit play action type of offense, and that's what Ayuk and Purdy were like killing people at in that season.
Hmm.
So when you like load up like $100 million of cap on you know those three players, it's gonna be hard to keep that team relevant. I think. I mean, we'll see. The Eagles loaded up with Payne Hurts. And they just won a Super Bowl, so it's not the end all be all, but I mean it's certainly more difficult, I think.
Yeah. We're kind of running out of time. I just got the little notification.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, we can call it. Not too much more to talk about. I'm glad the combine has came and went. It's kind of a just a signifier that we're fully in draft season, which is one of my favorite times. So maybe we get our first mock going next week or something. Free agency starts within the next 2 weeks. So it's about to get fun here for about a month and a half before the long, boring times.
yeah. Cool. Well, I'm excited for it. We'll
Yes.
have to do a little mocky next week and do like the first round or something.
Yeah, let's just start off slow, ease into it.
Hmm. All right. Well, that's all I got. Thanks, guys, for stopping by, and look forward to seeing you next week and during draft season.
Yeah, start of season 4 of JR Takes.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.